Hey guys, Dantics here. I've not hidden the fact that I'm a massive Effect fan, but with that comes the disappointing reality that there wasn't anything to scratch the itch for a long time. Enter the Expanse, Osiris Reborn, and Exodus. They've made no attempts to hide their Mass Effect inspirations. Exodus is even helmed by some of the original team behind Mass Effect 1, like the lead writer Drew Capitian. Whereas Owlcat Games, known for their always highly rated CRPGs, are now venturing into sci-fi action RPG territory with the Expanse license. I've had a rare opportunity to play both, so I want to go through what we know about the games, what's new, including a bombshell you want to stay tuned for. I also talk about what worries me and, most importantly, why I remain extremely optimistic. Both Osiris Reborn and Exodus have grand choices across highly developed narratives that promise equally grand consequences. Both have third-person action, a cover system, and crewmates, two of which you'll select to bring with you on missions. Both focus highly on developing relationships with your crew and the agonizing choices you'll need to make involving them. So they follow the Mass Effect formula, but they're also releasing around the same time. Though we don't have an official date, both are slated for early 2027. Pending no delays, we may see a battle of the space RPGs during a packed year filled with games who also wanted to escape GTA 6's shadow. So where do they differ from each other and even differ from Mass Effect? Well, first and foremost, where Mass Effect celebrated a diversity of alien species, neither the Expanse or Exodus has traditional alien species. The only alien thing in the Expanse is the proto-molecule, and I don't really count that as sentient. The rest of the series, books, and now the game take place in our own solar system, wherein Earth, Mars, and the Belt are locked in a melting pot power struggle. But all factions are human, even though Belters are taller and more slender due to the lack of gravity in their environments. Exodus is much more complicated. It has what I would consider alien life, but it's only alien in that it differs from humanity as we know it today. Though there are alien life forms like non-sentient flora and fauna in Exodus, the sentient life has all terrestrial origins. Let me explain. Exodus's key defining feature is time dilation, which is a very real phenomenon that even our satellites today have to account for. The faster an object travels towards the speed of light, the slower time moves for them. Meaning that if I were to travel at 99.9% speed of light away from you for a day, 22.4 days would have passed on Earth. The closer I get, the more exponential the difference. At 99.9999%, 707 days would have passed, which is almost 2 years. Though Mass Effect has found a way in its lore to explain faster than light travel, in Exodus and the Expanse, nothing can travel faster than light, at least not yet. So in Exodus, Earth is dying and Ark ships leave to find green worlds. A green signal is sent and the other Ark ships eventually receive it and head towards the Centauri cluster. The humans there start establishing themselves. By the time our Ark ship arrives, tens of thousands of years have passed for them, and who were once human are now something else entirely. Evolution, technology, and genetic engineering has run wild, and the new species now calls themselves Celestials. So we have a wide range of celestial species to contend with. We also have changelings, a massive amount of new species that were created by the Celestials to help with specific tasks like manual labor, storing data, working in zero-G, war, and even blood sports. In my short time playing the game, I saw more diversity than I did the first time reaching the Citadel in Mass Effect 1. The Celestials have made new species to interact with, but humans in this universe already had as well. Enter the awakened animals. They are what happens when you take Earth-born animals and play around with their genetics until you give them human-like intelligence. Now we have talking pigs, wolves, ravens, and even elephants to accompany us in our journeys. On our squad, we have an awakened octopus named Salt. She's in a water-filled mech suit with mech tentacle arms, ink cannons, and a powerful sniper. There are Exodus hard-covered handbooks that go through the sheer amount of diversity in creatures, and it's far more extensive than Mass Effect. Even with Exodus's terrestrial limitations. I'm not sure if you can see the books right there. With the blur, probably makes it hard. Now, you might be picking up that I already feel the scope and lore of Exodus is far more ambitious than the Expanse Osiris Reborn. This could be a positive or a negative thing depending on how they stick the landing. The Expanse has pre-existing lore and a timeline to follow, which grounds it and leaves less margin for error. From what I played, I enjoyed the direction they were taking, whereas Exodus feels like the writer's attempt to start Mass Effect Andromeda all over again. Before you click off this video, hear me out. Andromeda, for all its failings, had an interesting premise. Put humans in cryosleep and shoot them into another galaxy filled with wonder and mystery. An ancient, mysterious, and now absent race came before and left technology far outside our scope. We must struggle to repair it and establish a foothold for humanity against overwhelming odds. What I just said also applies to Exodus almost word for word. In Exodus, you also have journeyed to a new galaxy, and there's also new technology from a race far more technologically advanced than you. This race has built a terraforming engine on the planet humanity is relegated to, which is keeping it habitable. But a technovirus called the Rot is slowly destroying all this ancient technology, so you need to set out and find a solution. This is doing Andromeda all over again, but with a twist. The twist being that the setting out to find technology and remnant artifacts will cause time to pass faster at home than for you. Using the Mass Effect Relay style gates of heaven speeds you up to near light speed, and like I mentioned, traveling at those speeds causes time to slow for you. You'll set out, days will pass for you, you'll find some tech and return to a world changed from the one you left behind. You'll choose how to use and develop the technology that you find. Say you found an ancient war mech, you might choose to use it for planetary defense or break it down to further science. You'll leave crew behind and set off again. The next time you return, years may have passed. Crew left behind will be older, and you'll see the consequences of the choices you made with that tech. Once again, this ambition is far outside the scope of the Expanse Osiris Reborn. Though the Expanse promises choice and consequence, they don't promise planetary and even galaxy-wide consequences for all of humanity. Rather, interpersonal consequences that matter to you, like losing crew members and people's opinions of you. Between these two games, it's not about if your choices will matter, it's when will they matter. In the beta, choices you make, though you need a persuasion check to make this choice, can cause an entire space station you were just on to be destroyed along with your friends on it. All this to say, Exodus is reaching for the stars and the Expanse is staying more grounded. Exodus is about making choices for all of humanity, whereas Expanse is about making choices for you. Owlcat is developing a game centered around a pre-existing franchise, The Expanse, known for the delightful novels and enthralling TV show. One of the main themes of The Expanse was the tension between different factions. We have Earth, Mars, and the Belt. These different people struggle over balances of power, and in Osiris Reborn, you'll make the choice between these factions when building your character. From what I understand, the Expanse Osiris Reborn's missions will play out completely differently depending on your origin. NPCs will be locked off or open to you. You'll have to approach quests quite differently and people will react differently. It makes sense because, like I mentioned, in The Expanse, these tensions were a major narrative beat. Owlcat has said the following: if you are a belter who grew up on Osiris, you'll find that you still have loyal and helpful friends willing to help you find the people and information you need. But if you arrive on Osiris as an Earther, that character will be a complete stranger, offering you a glimpse into a completely different side of their personality. And while it's easier for a belter to communicate with the locals through language and shared customs, an inner would feel like a complete outsider on Osiris. Inners will instead have their own connections and advantages. Earthers will maintain important contacts on Luna, while Martians will be the only ones allowed to land on the Red Planet early in the game, so I assume that means you can land there later on. Each captain will find places where they belong and places where they don't. Establishing and strengthening connections to a specific faction will play a major role later in the game, but no reason to spoil that now. So I personally had the opportunity to play the beta before the public, and when I did, I provided a fairly large document filled with my feedback. I had a whole page on the voice acting for the male protagonist, who is customizable, and his twin Jay. As your twin, they'll be whatever gender and origin you choose in character creation for your character. If you choose your main character to be a male belter, Jay will also be one. As it turns out, both the male character and male Jay came across, at best, quite flat.
With the brass acting like that, a month without leave can easily turn into a year. A month without a day off? Sheesh.
This was feedback from an overwhelming amount of players, 7,000 to be exact, who filled in the feedback survey, which is a lot for a closed beta. We also found some of the animations to be stiff or incomplete, and the banter frequency to be too high. So Owlcat listened and are now recasting both characters. Traditionally, Owlcat has always taken player feedback seriously, so here is a developer that tries its best to give the people what they want. Considering the extra time this will take, considering the extra costs, this kind of move, listening to fans like this, should be commended. Owlcat feels a bit like a rogue in the industry, being risky in a landscape that discourages it. For example, having no problem with posting twerking gifs of their unsurprisingly beloved character, Regina. In fact, even the inclusion of a handsome muscular man in Michael and the traditionally attractive women in Regina and Polly and some of the others is something a lot of people are expressing interest in, because yes, both games will include an option to romance characters. Inversely, I and a small handful of others got a chance to play Exodus behind closed doors, and the characters aren't as visually complete yet. There's a sort of uncanniness to their faces in particular, a slight elongation while the eyes don't quite have the right shading. Thousands of years of evolution has made humans subconsciously able to pick up social cues from simply looking at a face, which is why it's so hard for developers to get it right. But Archetype Entertainment are aware of this issue, and we all provided the same feedback, so I have no doubt they'll be working on this issue.
I must thank you for this opportunity, June, for choosing to aid me.
Neither of us can do this alone.
However, the recently dropped bombshell, the Expanse Osiris Reborn, will include a full character creator, and you're able to customize your character's looks, origins, initial starting gear, and even their skills like persuasion and engineering. Exodus, however, won't have the same level of customization. We don't know mechanically what choices you'll be making, but we do know there'll be a male or female option, as well as the ability to change minor cosmetic things, including scars, tattoos, hairstyles, and so on. The faces, though, are overall locked for the male and the female character. I'm not sure of the reasons behind this, and all I can do is speculate. My thoughts are because the time dilation aspect plays a factor, aging will be a theme in the game, and aging customized faces might be something too difficult for their engine. Also, more importantly, it seems like the characters, at least in the cinematic moments, are motion captured, and it's a lot more difficult to make a custom character that has been optimized for mocap. But once again, this is all speculation. The lack of an in-depth character creator is a big deal for a lot of people. I, myself, don't really mind too much. I'm able to project myself into the character regardless, but it is a shame for people who really do care about character customization.
And we will fight to protect it!
Companions in the Expanse Osiris Reborn look fantastic. There's no real uncanniness, and each of them seems like a real person that could very well exist. You've got a highly specialized crew of the best, which means that these will naturally be fit and intelligent people. There's less known about companions in Exodus. We've seen most of the combat companions already, but there are also non-combat companions that will join you narratively. So imagine talking to Garrus on your ship and having him join you in parties, but not come with you to the ground missions. We've seen all of the Expanse's companions, but we still haven't seen all of Exodus's narrative companions. But from what we have seen, there's a larger range in terms of different species, including an awakened octopus in Salt. We've also got other differences like Elise, who is going to be in a combat mech, and narratively we have Houston, our adopted brother awakened canine. It also seems we get access to Emeries, who is a subspecies of Celestial. It's my opinion that the Expanse has the more polished human character design, but Exodus has the potential to bring out some more interesting narrative experiences with theirs. Though as we still don't know much about either games, it's really hard to comment.
And the right crew, you could save all of us.
Combat-wise, both games are very similar to Mass Effect and are closer to Mass Effect 2 than Andromeda. Both games have you utilizing cover, both have powers and abilities to use based on your choices, and both use guns. The Expanse though has you equipping weapons you find out in the world. You can upgrade them extensively, as well as individual weapons have their own kind of skill tree while modifying them, further customizing your character. As of this moment, we're still unsure if you can get different weapons in Exodus, as they do show a huge range in those handbooks, but as of right now, all that I got to use and all we saw in all of the trailers is the Recycler. It's a weapon that can morph into other modes, an assault rifle mode, a shotgun mode, a sniper mode, and so on. The idea is that as a traveler, you're setting out into the unknown and there isn't exactly going to be ammo laying about. Instead, you can throw materials into the gun and it crafts it into ammo for you, which is reflected in gameplay, as you can, even in the middle of a fight, craft ammo at any time. Now, I prefer the Expanse's take on weapons, which is more closely related to how they did it in Mass Effect. I understand the idea behind Exodus, but in practice, I found myself wishing I had more variety. That's not to say there won't be. I didn't get to experiment with Exodus's weapon upgrade system and mod system, which can drastically change how the recycler modes will function, adding chain lightning effects, for example, to the assault rifle mode. Without all the information, it's hard to make a judgment. All I can say for sure is that in both games, you can highly customize your loadout. There are powers in both games as well, but as you'd expect, the Expanses are more grounded. You can slot in and out customizable gadgets, which also have their own kind of skill tree. They give you these activated abilities like a combat drone you can send out, a grenade you can throw, and hacks you can lightning bolt into your enemies. It looked pretty cool actually. You can also see weaknesses in the environment that your crew can exploit depending on their exploit type, and each crew member will have a different one. In the beta, your twin, Jade, could precision strike explosives, taking out waves of enemies without you even firing a shot. Later on, you could utilize your ship's PDCs to mow down enemies while you stick to cover. You could also equip your crew with weapons and gadgets, both of which you can customize as well. A point of difference with the Expanse is your crew seems to be treated like extensions of yourself, able to dish out just as much pain as you, and if you invested into leadership skills, even more than you. Whereas Exodus has space magic. Well, technology has advanced so far that it's indistinguishable from magic. It's explained as manipulating a special material called Livestone, which responds to you and shapes itself depending on your input. You can shape this Livestone to make eruptions from the ground like an earthbender. You can fire them as projectiles or even encase enemies in the stone. In my time with the game, I got to play around with a few powers, but not many. So it's hard to say how these will impact the game and your playstyle, but it does seem like there are far fewer options here than the Expanse offers you. You also pick 2 crew to bring with you on missions, and they have 2 abilities that can combo with each other or you. Like Mass Effect, one ability can prime and another can detonate. So if I prime with a shocking power and then detonate it, I'll get a shock synergy combo that splashes to other enemies in the area. It's very satisfying. Exodus also has tools that you can equip and utilize like grenades, though they can't be modified like they can in Osiris Reborn. In both games, you can utilize and upgrade your crew's abilities, but in Exodus, these crew members seem less like an extension of you and more like they're their own person. At least in combat, Osiris Reborn has a greater focus on companions, though narratively, Exodus wins out, as every so often you'll be able to stop and chat with them during a mission, getting their takes on the current situation. When it comes to stealth in Osiris Reborn, it essentially doesn't exist. Once you kill an enemy, you've revealed yourself, similar to all of the Mass Effect games. In Exodus, you can build around keeping hidden, And there's a camo tool to help you re-enter stealth mid-combat, which works like the Infiltrator class in Mass Effect 2 and 3. In Exodus, I could clear almost entire sections before starting combat while remaining hidden, and I can report that it does work extremely well. Though I'd be interested to see just how effective stealth can be once you invest into it in the skill tree. And yes, there are skill trees for both Exodus and the Expanse, though they are both works in progress, so I can't really talk about them here. To wrap up combat, both games' weapons and powers had a very satisfying impact. Each packed a punch, had significant weight, and in fact, the audio really helped to sell them. Combat is going to be fun for both games, and audio was really the unsung hero for both. Exodus naturally had a far greater range of enemies, each with different mechanics that were impressive. The ghosts, for example, are remnants of a time where different celestial races were at war. They're formidable automatons, some of which eerily speak to you like, if you've seen the Predator movies, the way the Predators speak to you, they don't really understand your language, they just repeat something you say. It's really unnatural. Other times we fought humans, which do actually talk to you, changelings, mechs, and much more. The variety was fantastic, and I expected it considering the size of the handbook and the scope of the lore. You can scan enemies and the environment to get an idea of weaknesses and weak points, and exploiting those will help reduce the difficulty of the game, because at least on normal, it wasn't easy. I would say it was about the same level as Mass Effect 2's hardcore setting, just under insanity, but over veteran. Whereas Expanse Osiris Reborn was closer to the normal setting on Mass Effect, not difficult, but still fun. Though I do have to keep in mind we played a very early segment of both games, and the developers made it very clear that both do in fact get much more difficult. Herein lies a talking point for the Expanse. The fact that the IP itself is grounded in realism, but gameplay mechanics themselves aren't as fun when grounded too far. In the show or books, if you take a stray bullet, you're dead. Weapon technology has far exceeded any form of defensive measures. There's no personal shield tech or even shield tech on ships. Very early on, the Mars flagship was taken down quite easily by a few small ships with railguns. You could say that those ships were technologically advanced, or that arrogance brought down the Mars flagship, but the railguns pierce right through any armor and out the other side. So naturally, you'd expect a game about the Expanse to be more or less the same, but it's not. Enemies will take a few bullets or an ability to bring down, and so will you. This is intentional because a game where you can't even pop your head out of cover before instantly being killed is not going to be fun. Now I know there'll be many of you that disagree with me here, but maybe we can agree that game design is not easy, especially when fun is a factor. Also, there are enemies using technology that we didn't see in the show. This is because we're not facing the same situation as James Holden and crew. We're on our own adventure while he does his own thing and faces a different set of enemies. But I understand how some don't like these things, especially diehard fans of the book and the show, so it's something to keep in mind. Some creative liberties have been taken. If they want an enemy to charge at you and get up close, they give them a physical shield, which looks like it's powered, but that's just the game showing you when it will be destroyed. It's perhaps a UI problem, and Owlcat are working on making it reach the sweet spot between fun and true to the lore. So I briefly mentioned audio before. Starting with the music, both are fantastic. You can actually go and listen to a few tracks right now from the Osiris Reborn. From what I played of Exodus, it too has some fantastic soundtracks that change depending on where you are and how dangerous your situation is. In both games, sound design is incredible, and the details that should be there, like the sounds being muted accurately in a vacuum, are there. There's nothing that I can fault. The voice acting though, I can definitely fault. Like mentioned, the Expanse had a problem with the male protagonist and male twin, Jay. Although I'm sure the voice actors are great, they've at the very least been given bad direction and sound completely off. This is being fixed like I mentioned, so hopefully we're in the clear. Exodus I had no such problems with. Some people find Phaedra, for example, annoying, but that's a personality thing. She's an eccentric scientist with a sort of female modern vibe, but I can't fault the voice acting or direction.
The rot's grown vicious and it's only getting worse. People call it radiation, decay, but it's so much more than that.
Due to the nature of the two games, it goes without saying that in Exodus, you're going to be getting a far wider range of environments to explore. The Expanse is grounded in the solar system with a sort of NASA tech feel to things, as it's not too far in the future from where we currently are. Whereas Exodus is set in another galaxy, tens of thousands of years in the future. Both aesthetics bring with them something different, not something better. Though I'm curious to see if the Expanse's environments will eventually seem all too samey. In the beta, we were on Pinkwater Station, and although it had different sections and areas, it was still a space station, and how many of those can you explore before yearning for something else? We'll just have to wait and see.
Fang has always been extremely volatile, completely unideal for civilization.
I've hinted a bit about stories, but let's go into more detail. In the Osiris Reborn, you'll start the game as a Pinkwater mercenary, then witness the events of Eros Station. Instead of being the chosen one or some kind of legendary hero, you're a survivor and mercenary trying to keep your ship and crew intact in a ruthless galaxy. The timeline makes this an alternate perspective and a standalone narrative running parallel to the main book and TV plots, and although we don't know if you'll run into characters that we know from the show, it's likely that we'll have many points of crossover. Exodus takes the almost exact opposite approach. You are the hero and you're trying to save humanity. You were born with a special ability to interface with celestial tech, and as such, are uniquely positioned to help save your world from the rot, which targets, corrupts, and destroys celestial tech. You're playing the power fantasy of a hero against insurmountable odds. As a human, we are the underdogs of the galaxy that can be wiped out with a flick of the Celestials' wrists, as they outnumber and outgun us with far greater technology. You'll be trying to save everyone and cement humanity's future while keeping off the radar of those who are or would be your enemies. So once again, the Expanse is more grounded and Exodus reaches for the stars. In my opinion, there's a higher likelihood of the Expanse exceeding in its vision, but Exodus has a higher potential. Remember, it's envisioned by those who created Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Baldur's Gate 2, Mass Effect 1, and so on. The original Bioware. If they capture the magic they've captured before, then we might be onto a generational winner. Whereas if Owlcat managed to make the successful transition from CRPG to action RPG, this could be the beginning of something greater than what we see now. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So what do you think? Do either of these games excite you in any way? I'm keen to hear your thoughts. I honestly am. Thank you so much for watching, and for everything Expanse or Exodus, stay tuned to Dantics. There's a lot more exclusive content coming. Until then, ciao friends.